All right, let's talk about Officer Tatum, because apparently he's got a video up called Black Woman Annihilates Woke Pro-Choice Activist. So probably going to be less of his rhetoric and more of hers. But let's go ahead and see how things turn out. First one we have here is from the Mini Ace. Greater Demon of Slanesh Suris going for a stroll on a warp-infested world. Anatomy is a little cursed. There's a reason why I do not draw people that much, especially not feet. Those feet are terrifying. The next one we have here is from Indigo, relatively new YouTube sub from around the time of the subathon started. I was sensing a bit of a theme, and now it is doodled all over my sketchbook. Thank you, Suris. We are opening up the laundry, and there is slime. We are going to the bath, or there is slime. We are going to drink, but it is slime! That is so expressive. Holy shit. That is amazing. Like, that facial expression? Hot damn. It was I, Slime Suris, all along. It's just me trolling myself at that point. Thank you all for your fan art submissions. Those were fucking great. If you want your fan art to be shown in a future video, the best way to do so is to drop to the fan art section of the Discord. With that said, if you haven't already subscribed or hit the bell notification icon, please consider doing so, as it helps out the channel a heck ton. Check out the Patreon too if you want to support the channel, and let's go ahead and get into the content itself. So, here we go.
Our point was black women have never had the ability to have autonomy over our bodies, and that is a lie. This is not, we're not in Color Purple days where Mr. would just climb on top of us and do his business.
Man, I wish that he had actually included the bit where the person said their point as opposed to just the response. That would be helpful.
This is 2022, and women have the ability to decide yes or no. I want to have sex or I don't. I want to take birth control or I don't. I want to have this baby or I don't.
So wait a minute, before Tatum gets into his bullshit, I've Alpha Mario X. Really? Really? Fucking dropping a... Why? Why? Why would you do this? Why? For 50,001 channel points. Oh, whoa. Wow. Fucking... Thank you very much for Fluffy and B-Vixen being on the right end of frickin' history for an actual... Oh, whoa. Thank you. Anyway, back to the content, you monsters. Derailing son of a bitches. Anyway, so I've never heard somebody say that women don't have right to their bodies because of the possibility of rape, though there have been several instances where women technically did not have the right to their own bodies. I also like this insane expression on Tatum here, but before we get into any of that or the Donald Trump, what, I don't even know what I'm looking at here. Before we get into any of that, while yes, women can consent to having sex or not in most cases, women do not necessarily get to consent to how their body is utilized. The government gets in the way of that a lot of the time, especially now after what's happened with Roe v. Wade. On top of that, consenting to having birth control, yeah, some women can be on birth control. Some women can't. And if you're on birth control, it's not exactly foolproof. Birth control can fail. But anyway, go on, Tatum.
Someone please call 911.
Why? Why would someone need to call 911? Who cares? Her point wasn't a good point.
Ladies and gentlemen, this video is brought to you by the greatest lie ever sold.
Nope. Fucking, I forgot he's a Daily Wire person. Do I just do responses to Daily Wire people now? Is every terrible person on the internet employed by Daily Wire? Jesus Christ. Anyway, no, don't do that. Instead, maybe consider going to DDLG Playground, getting something to get some relief from all of this off of there. Use coupon code Suris. You'll get 10% off on anything on the website by doing so. I'm also the only person they sponsor anymore, which is weird. But anyways, if you don't like my content, maybe get something from there anyway, because, I mean, think about it. Think about it. Why would you spend 10% more just because you don't like me? Use my coupon code anyway. Get yourself a butt plug. Use it to go fuck yourself. It's okay. Anyway, no more Daily Wire-y. Let's go.
Make sure you still subscribe to this channel. Gentlemen and ladies, I had to make a video about this. I saw it circulating on the internet, and my God, this is a 0101 in Tucson police terms. A 0101 is a murder. This is a intellectual murder.
Is it though?
We about to watch. The lady pictured in the pink, pull her up on the screen. The young thugger in the pink is about to be slaughtered because she did not functionally do homework enough to be informed to make an informed conversation flow in a way in which is conducive for her to look smart. But the other young lady is finna drag her through the dirt by her wig.
Okay.
Now, let me say this off the top. I'm not endorsing any of these people. I don't know these people personally. The one girl that's finna do the slaughtering, she said some stuff about Candace a long time ago. I made a video about it. I didn't like what she said about Candace. However, I never met her in person. These liberals are already dead to me. And Brandon Straka and walk away, I have zero respect for Brandon Straka. I mean zero. It's like negative respect for Brandon Straka.
Well, I mean, we have no respect for you either, so who cares? Why is his iPhone keyboard such dog shit? I don't know.
I think maybe it was some good intent with the walkaway movement, but that dude is. I could make a whole video about Brandon Straka, but let me move on because I do appreciate this beatdown that I witnessed right here at this event. So let's start with Miss Pinky. She literally is the epitome of the dumb woman in America who's been brainwashed by not having a father in the home or other black women who telling her that, I don't know, trying to make her make excuses for everything than being a responsible adult. This is the epitome. This is the woman that destroyed.
This feels like a lot of misogyny. Like, I feel like I just heard a lot of misogyny with no actual point. I guess let's just continue.
Destroys the black community. And then the one that you see that's gonna drag her through the mud and gonna put her on blast, that's the epitome of what drives up the black community. Roll the clip.
A black woman has never had autonomy over her body in this country. She was used as a baby manufacturing machine for her slave owner who needed more and more people when they stopped allowing slaves to be brought over to the United States.
Time out real quick. Time out. First of all, black people quit, especially black people like you. We need more of the black people like the other lady. Stop acting like black people were only slaves in this country. The South had slaves, the North were free. There were free blacks and there was blacks in slavery. And then...
And? What is that? Wait, what? Hold on. Have you not heard of the concept of if one of us isn't free, then none of us is free? The North had slave states too. Like, this is just ignoring actual factual history. But, sorry, the idea is not, well, if every single black person wasn't a slave, then you can't say that black people were enslaved. Like, no, all it takes is a handful. All it takes is enough. Jesus Christ. This is why I don't like Tatum.
And our current situation that we're in, there's generations of black people that moved here after slavery. We are not only attached to the legacy of slavery,
Nobody's saying that we are. Nobody's saying that you are. Nobody's saying you're only attached to that legacy. Like, that's not been the point.
Can we stop acting like every black person that ever existed that made it to the motherland of America was a slave? Could you stop for a minute? Roll the clip.
Her turn to be impregnated every possible chance she got. Where do you think they got the word mother effer from? They used to put a paper bag over a black woman's head and they would send in her relatives, whether it was her son, her uncle, her brother, her cousin. It didn't matter. They were just used as mules to recreate for white supremacy. So that's what happens when white supremacy is allowed. Black women have no
I mean, that's not untrue. Like, they were literally bred like cattle. There's a reason we call it chattel slavery. Like, people were bred like cattle to make better or stronger offspring for the purpose of working the fields. It was disgusting. It was inhumane. It happened over several generations. Why is that something that's making Tatum, like, freak out? Because you see his facial expressions as he's watching the clip. You can see him, like, you can see him just... Ninja Kawasataki, thank you for the raid. But you can see him reacting to it in a way that seems disparate. When it's like, okay, cool. You can say that people need to move away from the concept of slavery. People need to move away from things that happened in the past. I can understand that position, but to freak out at all when we talk about the details of what slavery was... That's not... I just don't get it.
Control over their womb, their body, and anything else. And so what we're having now is people being returned the ability to decide what they want to do for themselves. A woman...
Time out, little mama. Time out, little mama. Can y'all stop with the white supremacy thing? Because last time I checked, you live in America. If you thought white people were that bad, why don't you go move somewhere else where it's just only black people?
Okay, that's... Wait, hold on. You know what that statement says, right, Tatum? You know what that statement is? That is a statement that says that there is some predisposition for black people to be worse than white people. That's the end result of that statement, dude. I'm not sure if you understand that. Maybe you don't get it. But when you say, if you hate white people so much, move to somewhere where there's only blacks and see how you like it then. That's a fucking racist as shit statement. Secondly, you can point out that there is an issue of white supremacy in the United States. There are people who are white supremacists here. They usually fly Confederate flags pretty flippantly. You could point out that that's a problem that exists that needs to be addressed and has not fully gone away. The answer to the problem that white supremacy is still a thing today, just like black supremacy is a thing in smaller circles, pointing out that racial supremacy is... I hope she's having fun. I'm about to close my door. But pointing out that racial supremacy is a thing that still exists and is a problem does not mean that the answer to it is, well, then just go somewhere else. That doesn't solve the fucking problem.
The best opportunities that have ever been provided for black people in the globe have been right here in the United States of America.
Are you sure about that? Are you 100% sure? Because I'm fairly certain that maybe the United Kingdom and Canada and other places have pretty good opportunities for people as well. I'm not sure what that statement even means.
And the white supremacy, how did black people get the right to vote? 13th, 14th, 15th Amendment. Freedom of slavery, citizenship, and the right to vote. How did that happen? White people.
Dude! That is not a point! Holy fucking shit! If white people had to give you the right to those things, you have to have already admitted that white people took them away from you. You're doing the white savior cringe. Holy shit! What the fuck is wrong with you? He's literally saying that black people are indebted to white folk because we freed the slaves, I guess. ignoring the fact that freeing the slaves did not necessarily make things better for black people instantaneously. We still had an entire civil rights movement after that, and last I checked, some of the leaders of that, they weren't white. Jesus Christ.
And in the Civil War, 100,000 plus white people died in the Civil War fighting that resulted in the freedom of black people.
And does that mean that there was not a concept of white majority or white supremacy that was prevalent in the United States that may have underpinned and underlined some of that? How do you ignore that? How do you ignore actual, factual United States history?
Okay,
Jeez.
keep rolling.
Has the right to decide what she wants to do with her body, her life, and that is her choice. And that is something that she has never had in this country.
You decided.
Okay, come out. Someone please call 911. She's finna get roasted. However, it's gonna start slow because the young lady cut her off, and then she gonna get the business. So I just wanted to view discretion. If you standing up, you might want to sit down because it's about to get crazy.
Okay.
Roll clip.
To have children. And so what I want us to stop
Okay, I'm
lying
gonna interrupt you. You
I
got
want
7
us to
seconds, but
stop
let me just go
Cut
here.
lying about the fact that black women don't have the ability
My
to have
fiance
control
and
over their
I
bodies.
met. My fiance and I met.
You
Every
had
black
autonomy
woman is not you
over your
talking. We've
body
heard
is the
enough.
question.
Every black woman has not.
Okay, so I feel if they're in a structured debate and everybody has a certain amount of time that they are allowed, you don't interrupt your person. That's not a good performance there. I understand that we're not supposed to root for the person who's going to start arguing for taking people's autonomy away, but if you're in a structured debate and there is a time allotment, you need to adhere to the time allotment. I've done structured debate before, but continue.
Not had that education, opportunity, and ability to move forward and gain something for herself. And so if she learns something in the middle of the game, in the fourth quarter, the third quarter, whether it's the third month or the fourth month, she learns that this person is going to walk out on her. She learns that this person has been unfaithful. She learns that she's not able to provide for herself. If she decides that this is not a decision,
Hold on, time out. She learned that he's not going to the NFL. She forgot to say that. He's not going to the NFL. Did she learn that? Okay, keep going.
I don't know if that was even an appropriate time to throw that joke in, but okay, sure, why not?
She wants to continue with because of new information coming into her at 4 or 5 months. She's got a right up until what is called quickening.
All right,
what is called quickening
let me
to make
interject.
that decision to terminate that
on,
life
sister.
and do what's best for
Come
her
on,
as
sister.
a woman.
Come on,
The point
sister.
was black women have never had the ability to have autonomy over our bodies. And
Okay, so at least he does have the entirety of what she said before. So the point that she made was that if somebody learns at some point that the situation that they did consent to, having a child with my loving husband who's going to be here forever and always, and then suddenly forever and always just goes away, it's no longer a thing anymore. The part of the consent to the child was consent to the child under certain circumstances. And when those circumstances change, the negotiations about there being a child can also change. I don't think that's an unreasonable thing to say. Like, we have that position with almost any contractual obligation. If you and I have a contract with one another and you violate part of our contract, all parts of the contract now become up for debate or are discarded completely until renegotiations. That's how contracts work in general.
And that is a lie. This is not, we're not in color purple days where Mr. would just climb on top of us and do his business. This is 2022 and women have the ability to decide yes or no, I want to have sex or...
Except in the cases of rape, and rape happens at an alarming rate, women get to decide whether or not they want to have sex until rape happens.
I don't. I want to take birth control or I don't.
And sometimes the birth control doesn't work. Sometimes you think a birth control will work for you, and it actually doesn't. I'm not talking about a birth control failure. I'm talking about sometimes your body does not respond to particular birth controls and must instead utilize other birth controls. Sometimes you can't use birth control at all. But okay, let's continue.
I want to have this baby or I don't. So we need to stop telling these lies as if we just happen to fall on a penis and get pregnant. That's not how it works.
Again, rape is a thing. Having sex with somebody under circumstances that you think are different is a thing. You're dating somebody for several months and you think, oh my God, he's the most wonderful person in the world. And then you find out actually you've been part of an affair and he's been cheating on his wife. Like, circumstances are such that it's more complicated than that.
We actually have the choice to do that. And I don't care how Reese decided to sit down with her fiance, whether they married or any of that. I want us to stop telling lies. And as someone who is a product of rape, since Robert wanted to shut me up, as someone who is a product of rape, my mother was raped at 14, walking to cheer camp. I am that baby. So when y'all sit here and talk about something that is less than 1% of all abortions, as if
it doesn't matter that it's less than 1% of all abortions. Even so, the conversation about it being less than 1% of all abortions is already facetious. So when we talk about rape being less than 1% of all abortions, we have to understand that we're talking about reported statistics. Rape is one of those lovely statistics that goes unreported more often than not because of all of the stigma that comes with rape. You can't actually use you can't use the 1% metric because that variable is actually an unknown number because of the rate of non-reports. Warlord Video Game Glitch, thank you for redeeming your points for an Elwall. But even so, I don't like when people do this. When people do this whole, like, I was the product of rape, so don't talk about it. Look, I feel for your mother because being assaulted like that is one of the worst things that can happen to a human being. But I also feel as if I don't give a shit. I'm not saying that to be mean. I say that because whether or not you individually were the product of rape, I don't give a shit. I am the product of the failure of a birth control pill and a condom. I also don't give a shit about my position in there. I could have easily been an abortion because I was unplanned and unwanted in the beginning. You could have easily been an abortion because you were a product of rape. But my situation shouldn't be used as the barometer for everyone else's, and neither should yours. I feel that your situation was what it was. There is nothing fun and nothing good about having to deal with being the product of that kind of intercourse. Even if you try to call it intercourse, it's actually just assault. But I just don't care when it comes to how much that matters in terms of talking about people's bodily autonomy. I was a product from a rape baby, or I was the product of rape, do you think I should have been aborted? It's a thought-terminating cliche. Nobody is saying you should have been aborted. People are saying the option should always be available to the mother. And if that option kills you, you were too young to care or know. The only reason you care or know now is because you're alive to do so. If I was aborted, how would I feel? The answer is, I wouldn't. Anyways.
that is the reason why we have abortions. That is not the truth, and I want us to stop lying about it.
It's not a lie to say that abortion is necessary in case of rape or potential rape. That is one of the many reasons abortion is necessary. I'm sorry, nobody is saying that abortions always happen because of rape. I don't know anybody who makes that point.
I want us to be honest, and I want us as women to be responsible and have accountability and stop trying to blame everybody else for what's going on with our bodies.
Nobody's blaming Wait, hold on. Nobody's blaming everyone else for what's going on with your bodies. People point out that when things like the Roe v. Wade decision happen, when certain rights are removed, other people are necessarily getting involved with your body. I don't care that Tatum's gonna sit here and do his, like, clap, clap, slay queen bullshit. None of that matters. What matters is the personal responsibility conversation is utterly moot when the options have been taken away from you.
We have
Thank
the
you,
ability
sister.
and the right to choose, and that's just what it is.
Thank you. Thank you, nigga. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
You gonna,
See, that's
you gonna
the
stop
difference between
sucking clit there?
successful, and my opinion, successful black women and dead black women.
Could you say that again?
Successful black. That's the difference between successful, in my opinion, successful black women and dead black women. These women, like the young lady
The
right
fuck?
here, if she have children, I would argue that she would, if I had to roll the dice, I would argue that she would be raising young men to be strong and powerful and believe in themselves and do the right thing. The other woman will raise victims, telling them that it's funny. Can y'all understand this? Every time black liberals argue, they go all the way back to slavery.
Because statistically, the problems that are faced here where black people are concerned, a lot of times they do trace back to slavery. Even if you yourself are not a product of a lineage that was based on slavery in the beginning, it doesn't matter. Slavery begot our current police force, especially here in the South. Slavery begot Jim Crow laws. There are people alive today who lived under Jim Crow. Slavery begot our attitudes towards various races that still have not gone away. Slavery begot things like the Civil War. People still fly Confederate flags, Tatum. It's very hard to walk away from slavery as a conversation when it is such a recent thing that happened in America, and it's even still around. I know how he said the 13th Amendment was one of the things that freed the slaves. It didn't, though. It didn't. I hate to be that guy that says this for the billionth time, but the 13th Amendment does not mean we don't have slaves. The 13th Amendment moved slaves from the plantations to the prisons. That's what it did. The 13th Amendment literally says we are still allowed to have slaves as long as they are in prison first, which means all you need to do is get a way to get black people in prison. And oh God, look, he's there. Hi, Richard Nixon. You found some real convenient ways to get black people into prisons. That's real interesting. I wonder if you and Ronald Reagan had anything to do with current affairs. Anyway, this is why the conversation always ends up going back there, because so many things spawn there. You can't get away from it. Also, if you want to bitch and moan about American black people talking about slavery, then I want you to maintain that exact same position when talking about Americans and our patriotism. When we do things like celebrate, when we do things like putting 1776 at the end of a Twitter handle or some shit, why do people celebrate that when that happened so far in our past? Oh, right, because we as human beings never really, truly, and fully escape everything that happened in our past. Several issues are still linked to them. When we are talking about slavery, we move from slavery into into education and lack of education. We move from that into lack of jobs. We move from the lack of jobs and lack of education with American black people into redlining of various districts, which led into conversations about who should get loans and who should be able to figure out who gets to go to which schools. All those conversations were had on the lines of race, and they were had on the lines of race because of how close we were to keeping fucking slaves, Tatum. And then you move from the conversation about redlining and who gets to get what loans and who gets to leave impoverished areas and who has to be stuck in the inner cities. You move from those conversations into the civil rights movement and Jim Crow laws and talks about segregation. And all of it ends up being connected. You know why? Because it is. It's all connected. It never stopped being connected. It's a series of dominoes. We don't hit domino 12 unless domino 1 got flicked first. That's why you can't get away from it. We still have white supremacists in the United States today. The KKK still exists. I literally can take a drive to Stone Mountain, where the third reformation of the KKK happened. It's a thing I can do physically right now. And yet, Tatum will maintain this position, this slay queen position here. I'm not advocating that black people in the United States should just be perpetual victims. No, that's stupid. But to argue that there is not a level of victimhood that happens to a lot of people here, and to argue that there is not a level of unfairness that happens on a decent scale, is just to argue from naivete. There are people who still won't get hired easily at certain jobs because of their name, for God's sake. But okay.
They go all the way back. They skip over all the stuff that black people have accomplished to go right to slavery.
I mean, again, first domino.
And then they skip back over here and try to apply it today. You know how much happened between slavery and today?
Jim Crow? Because Jim Crow happened. Jim Crow happened. We don't have to skip that far back to get to Jim Crow, my guy.
Do you know how much happened? But y'all go all the way to slavery because you cannot argue the merits. You know, this is one thing that gets me. It's almost like in the Bible.
Oh boy, we're gonna use that book to justify Jack? Okay.
Now, there is literally missing record of Jesus Christ from like when he was a baby. It's like one thing about him when he was 12 and then he's 30. There's a whole gap of stuff that Jesus Christ must have done that we don't have record of, or it's gone. The mystery part of Jesus's life from here to here, it's the same thing. And it's not that it didn't exist. It's that somehow people didn't think it was important to write about, talk about, or to retain. Same thing with black history. It's like you just want to go to slavery, this big event, just like the birth, the big event. And all of this that happened in the middle is important too.
Whiskey Tech Fred, thank you for resubscribing. I appreciate it. Also, Tatum, you know that middle stuff is still talked about, right? Again, it's Jim Crow. Redlining, Jim Crow, like all that stuff is still a thing that's part of this conversation. But, you know, you would know that if you didn't spend so much time denouncing critical race theory, which actually talks about that shit.
It gives you context of how you get to the point way over here. How you understand who Jesus was. How you understand, you know, the Judeo principles.
Oh, okay. So he admits that per the Bible, we can't understand jack about Jesus because of that missing history. Got it. Good. Glad we're on the same page. That was easy. Entire Bible disproven. Woo!
Man, I get a tongue twister. How you understand what Jesus was doing at the age of 30. Why did Jesus do what he did? How did he run into John the Baptist? All of that is contextual. What was Mary doing? Why did Mary do it? What does the disciples knew about Jesus? All of these things are important to understand. Not that you cannot get reference points from the end, but like that's a lot there that I would like to know. And you look at the connection of the black community, it's like, bro, you skipped the 20s, the 30s.
So they skipped when redlining was happening. They skipped while Jim Crow was a thing. Is that what you're telling me? They skipped all of the stuff that like they skipped segregation. So all of the times where black people were still getting fucked by the United States. Do you think they're ignoring that? Because I don't think they are.
The late 1800s, Madam C.J. Walker was the first female millionaire out of any woman, white or black. In the early 1900s, she died early 1900s.
And why does that... Hey guys, guess what? Guess what? Black people weren't oppressed in the United States during these years. You know why? One of them became a millionaire. One of them did. One. My source, my case study of one disproves millions of lived experiences. One person did it. That's how data works. That's how data works for Tatum. Oh my god. We're done. We're done. You're a clown. The entire circus is dancing around you because you've outperformed them. Jesus Christ. Anyways, that's enough of that. That's enough of that. So not only does he misunderstand the conversations being had in the debate, despite my misgivings with some of the things or some of the ways people operated in that debate. So remember to say that I did that. Alpha Mario, I did that. In the beginning, I already cut to that bit. I already did it. I already suffered. There is pain in my soul because of you. Not as much pain as Officer Tatum has given, which is surprising to me. There's a world of clowns, and Officer Tatum fancies himself the king. Splinter Kid, thank you for redeeming your points for an owl. Okay, that's enough. It's time to rest. I need no more of this. Exhibit A Tulsa Race Massacre. There's an entire bit of that I need to get into in a different video. But let me know what you guys think of Tatum's positions here. Just no. I have problems I do not like. But let me know what you think in the comments section below. Let me know if you've got any grievances with what I've said. I will be sure to read them. I read pretty much all the comments against my better judgment. Let me know what you think. And as always, everyone, insert end video tagline here.